everybody, welcome to Strength Coach TV. I'm Anthony Renna. This is the show where we take you inside some of the country's top fitness facilities, give you a tour, sit down with the owner, talk a little bit of shop. Today we head up to North Chelmsford, Massachusetts, right outside of Lowell, to Skill of Strength. Mike and Amanda Perry are the owners. Mike's actually becoming really a leader in our industry for training trainers. Does some great stuff with Strong First, and really on his Facebook page there's a lot of tutorials, Facebook Live, teaching constantly. So I love what he's doing with that from that perspective. This facility is gorgeous. It is inside an old mill, so they turned this old mill into kind of a little bit of a mall, and it's got this beautiful wood and iron. They kept things from the mill, some of the, I don't even know what they're called right now, I forget, but they're gorgeous. The place is gorgeous, and Mike and Amanda keep it immaculate. So beautiful place, love what they're doing there. Let's head up to North Chelmsford, Massachusetts to Skill of Strength. Hey everybody, welcome to Strength Coach TV. I'm Anthony Renna. We are in Chelmsford, Massachusetts at Skill of Strength with Mike Perry. Mike, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You can take that, my big mouth. All right. I know they can't see that part yet, but beautiful location. I just got to say it. Love it.
Thank you.
What's the square footage here?
So the total square footage that we have to pay for is about 5,500, and we use about, I would say, 4,700 square feet of it.
Okay, let's make this a lesson in square footage here.
Yep.
You said that you have to pay for. There's extra. Tell them about common area.
Yeah, it's common area. Basically, outside in the hallway is considered part of our suite, if you will, and so we're sort of liable to pay for that. Ideally, it's not. It's not the best way to go about it. I wish there was a little bit less space that we had to pay for, but it is what it is. And you know, with the location being what it is, we dealt with it and we just moved on. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about this. Is an old mill, right?
Yeah. So in this area, Lowell is actually called the Mill City, but we're right on the sort of Chelmsford Lowell area line, and this is an old textile mill. So it's a 100,000 square foot building. And there's different suites throughout. There's actually 3 floors, and it's an old mill, so there's a ton of exposed brick and exposed wood, and all of the wheels that were originally in the building were actually sort of refurbished. They painted them, they went through them, and that was part of them renovating the whole building.
It's beautiful. Now, how long have you been here?
So actually, it'll be 5 years in a couple weeks.
So did you start out with this size?
No, we actually started out pretty much, we'll split that right in half, about 2,800 square foot facility. And it was small. We made it work, but what we were finding is, especially with groups, we were having a tough time just getting larger numbers in. And about 2 years in, we decided, hey, there's an open space next door. Why not go ahead and bite the bullet and move on?
All right, good stuff. Staff, how much staff are you on?
All right, so as far as full-time go, we've got 4 full-time employees, and right now we've got 2 part-time employees.
Cool. Tell me a little bit about the member demographic. Who's coming in here?
So we've got several different programs that we offer. So one is our adult group training program. It's called MOVE. So that is basically an adult group training program specifically designed for adults.
Yep.
So I would say the age of people that attend that are between, I would say, 30 and 60. Okay. It's a big gap.
Yep. So the membership types, you have that adult group program.
Yep.
What else do you have?
We have our compete program, which is our sports performance program. So that's for high school and collegiate athletes. And then we also offer, basic personal training, like any gym does. Yep. And lastly, we do team training, where we have some contracts with some local soccer clubs, and we're doing some work with some volleyball teams and lacrosse teams as well.
Okay. Any semi-private, like 3 people, or no?
That's actually the next thing that we're going to be moving on to. I think if we were to do it all over again, that might be something that we would have added from the beginning. Okay. But when we started, it was kind of like, let's fill this group thing up and let's do personal training, because I always did personal training.
Yeah,
that was my thing. Sure. So we don't offer that, but that's something that we're going to add in within the next year, I would say.
All right, love it. Well, let's go get a tour of this beautiful facility.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, guys, welcome to Skill to Strength. We're going to basically take you into the gym and give you a little bit of a tour of our facility. So as you walk in, this is our common area facility. This is actually part of our Renna, and this is sort of one of the things that we have to deal with. But anyways, as you can see down the hall, a lot of exposed brick, and actually up top is some beautiful exposed wood. So it's got a nice feel to it. It's not like a normal sort of warehouse gym.
Yeah, beautiful.
But anyway, so people come in here, so it is the winter time, so people will leave their boots outside. That's one of the things that we actually didn't realize at first was, man, we need to make sure people are taking off their, their snowy boots or their muddy clothes and leaving them outside the gym. So we didn't track up the whole entire gym because, man, when we first started, we were cleaning like crazy. And then finally we had to say, hey, listen, bring your boots, put them outside, and the clothes that you're going to train in and the shoes that you're going to train in, you're going to bring them inside, and that's for inside only. And that was like one of the best things we could do because it cut our cleaning time by 75%.
Well, no one gives you a hard time about that, like the landlord or tech. I know it's common space. We just talked about it, right? But
so they sort of give us a hard time, but we just kind of. Oh yeah, we got it. We get one of those, to be honest. But I mean, honestly, if you look down the hall, one of our neighbors, they've got a whole bunch of stuff out there. So I'm not gonna. It's one of those things they say don't do it, but we just deal with it. Okay. So as we come in, we have our check-in area. So this is our front desk area. We use a basic scanner for people to come in. We give people key tags, and they scan and. Whatever they're doing, whether they're attending a private training or a group training class, or they're just utilizing open gym, at least we know who's in the building and we can keep track of it.
Nice, nice.
So as we come in, we've got our cardiovascular area. The basics, we've got some assault bikes, we've got some Concept 2 rowers, we've got some Concept 2 ski ergs, which are a fantastic tool. We've got a True Form runner, which is one of my favorites. I wish I could buy more, but they get a pretty hefty price tag.
Are the ski ergs, are they as expensive as the Concept?
They're almost the same price.
Yeah, those are pretty cool.
And the beauty of those is it's a different workout, but the footprint is small. And if you look at, we mounted them all on the wall, and we were able to get 4 of them on the wall super easy. Yeah. And it also gives people sort of a unique experience because they don't see those all over the place, right? I
just started seeing them. I just got a Concept 2, and it's unbelievable.
But if you look at those in the footprint versus a rower, I mean, you can stand the rowers up. Yeah, and the assault bikes, it's super easy. Yeah. So we'll kind of weave our way through. We've got a bag. We work with a bunch of fighters, and so they want to hit the bag sometimes. Now this is sort of our main turf area. We've actually got just about 100 feet of turf here from end to end, and this is where we do our movement prep. We do some agility work. This is where we spend a lot of our time. What's unique to us compared to a lot of the smaller facilities is we do have full shower facilities. So on each side we have obviously a toilet, a sink, and then a full shower. We don't provide towels and shampoo for people, but they know that they have the option to come in and utilize that. So that's a big part.
How many you got altogether?
How many showers?
Yeah.
Two. Both sides are identical. We don't really have like a male and female restroom. We just one person at a time, so it doesn't really make a difference. So I would say in the mornings for us, I mean, those get used all the time. That was actually we've gained membership because of the fact that we had showering facilities.
Okay, it's a big question. We've been asking everybody. It's who's cleaning them?
We all do. We all chip in. Okay. We all just if it's dirty, we try to, hey, if it's dirty, just let's go, let's dive in and clean it. So we're pretty good about it. If you just keep up on it like anything, it's not too bad. I've been into some places where you go into the shower facility and you go, what happened here? But cleanliness, let me tell you, the most important thing when you have a facility is first impression, obviously, but cleanliness. You got to keep it clean, man.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the factors that went into my decision. Mike, really quick, I just want to show these wheels. This is so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty unique and it looks awesome. As far as from a photography standpoint, doing video and photo, it really provides a cool backdrop. Yeah. And everybody that comes into our place is like, wow, this place is gorgeous, and it's just different. It's got a very comfortable feel, but it's in an old mill. It's not like your typical place, which tends to be warehouse based with a lot of cinder blocks and stuff like that. Yeah. Nothing against it. It's just when we actually were looking for a place, this is one of our only options locally.
Cool. Love the black turf here. Very cool.
Yeah, it's different. You know, we wanted to, all the places that I've been to have green turf, and we were like, you know what? I think the black turf would really make it a little bit unique, and we put the lines in, those are every 5 yards. And then the opposite side, we did green. And one of the reasons why we did that is when we're running groups, we can just say to people, hey, go to the green turf,
nice.
Or I'll meet you on the black turf, or I'll meet you up on the platform, etc. So it just makes it a little bit easier to give people direction.
All right, I love this. We went over this before, but I wanted you to show everybody this training system you have for groups. It's amazing.
So one of the things early on that we found is we're trying to give people some basic standards on when to move up. If you're new to strength training, you don't know, when to go heavier, or you don't know when it's time to go to a barbell. Now, we were doing a nice job coaching our clients with, hey, it's time to move up, but we were always, having a tough time getting people to buy in and understand and remember, right? Because you all have those clients when, what's a squat? What's a deadlift? They really confuse the two.
Yeah.
So what we ended up doing is we put together a basic system. We said, hey, listen, if you want to deadlift with a barbell, just show me that you can deadlift a 60 kilo kettlebell, and then we're going to bring you up to the barbell. We're going to use a hover deadlift because that's a great way to create tension, and then go from there. And then kind of moving down. That's the progression. And then from there, we'll just coach them up. Same thing with a squat. We found that for men, if they can show us a double 20 kilo kettlebell front squat for 5 reps clean, there's a good chance we can move them up to a 95-pound barbell back squat. We always do pause squats with everybody. And it tends to work, right? Same thing with women, we have standards for everything. So what we tried to do is just give people a basic flow, a flow of what they should be doing. Obviously, we've got other exercises that we do, but this has been very, very helpful because we can just say to people, hey, where are you at? Okay, well, you're not quite there yet, it's not time to come. We offer a lot of barbell technique classes, so we just tell people, hey, if you want to attend the barbell technique class, can you do this?
Yeah.
And if they can't do this, we just don't let them into the class because they're really not ready.
Love these. This is kind of one thing when you own a facility, you realize the exposed wood, I love the look of it, but also being able to put things like this bar on here, it makes it so much easier, huh?
Well, we want to utilize the space, and one of the things that we found is, hey, anytime we can get stuff off of the ground to increase usable area, that was a biggie for us. So, we went to the hardware store, and a lot of the things that we did were, hanging up hooks and putting up, beams like this for pull-ups or to hang our TRX or hang the heavy bag, stuff like that. So it's just a great way to utilize your space and open up more floor space.
Good stuff. All right, move on.
Awesome, so we'll just walk you down here. We've got a basic cage system. We've got 8 racks, if you will. And we found that this is just a game changer because we can have people, we can have obviously upwards of 8 people squatting at the same time, but there's just more space, and I found that this tended to work very, very well for us. Sometimes we do have 8 people using the rack at once, and it's a game changer. So when we program, what we'll try to do is we'll program a lift that is very specific to the rack. So we can say, hey guys, we're gonna do X on the rack, and then we're also gonna do another exercise on the black turf. So what happens is our programming is actually dictated by the space. And that's very, very important to understand, especially in group training, is that you need to lay it out so it will flow. If we decided to program back squats and bench press and pull-ups at the same time, it's gonna be a zoo over here, right? And honestly, we've made the mistake, man. We've done it before. So when we're programming things, we try to utilize the whole space. That way it flows easier and people understand where to go.
Cool, there's a lot of communication going on in here. I'm seeing that these are numbered.
Yep.
And then also, what's going on here with the colors on the rack?
That is actually for our push-up system, right? So whenever we're doing push-ups, we obviously teach people keep in a nice straight line, keep everything locked in, and elevated push-ups, in my opinion, are much better than doing kneeling push-ups. So we just have a basic color code system on the rack. And what we tell people is, hey, we're gonna start you on the red, and then, once you can show us 10, 12 reps solid, we're gonna move you down a little bit lower and kind of repeat the process. So again, it's just basic colors for us to show the clients and go from there. And plus, these racks can be a little bit tough to use lining everything up. So it's also a way for us to communicate. So if we evaluate a client and they're doing push-ups, right? And I eval that client, if I write on their program, hey, you're doing your push-ups at red, the next time they take a class and they open their folder, another coach sees it and goes, oh, you're on red. So it just helps with communication within the coaches.
Love it, love it. I gotta mention, Mike, this part up here too, because I got excited about I thought there was an upstairs.
Yeah.
But technically there's not. Just explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so that is space up there, and it's not designed to be really load bearing. I mean, we go up there and we just throw some, people throw their shoes up there, et cetera, but it's not an area that's really usable. We couldn't put offices up there. It tends to be one of those things people, drop their shoes up there, throw a hoodie up there, and then they come right back down. So I'd love it if we could use that for space, but from a code standpoint, it's not something we can do.
I guess it's an option if you really needed to say, well, let's knock down these walls and go up top. It could be an expansion option or no?
Actually, so behind there's a hallway that actually goes the length of the mill underneath it.
Okay.
So that's actually part of the kind of the fire route too if something happens.
Yeah.
So, but man, I wish we could. But it's actually, there's a lot of pipes up there, and if you're not careful, you can definitely whack your head. So we try to keep people out of that sort of, hey, don't bump your head zone. So we'll just walk you right through. Tons of barbells, tons of free weights. We've got a combination of metal plates versus bumper plates. We found that that's pretty significant, especially you start working with stronger athletes, you run out of space on the bar.
Yeah.
It's nice to have both. And obviously we've got all the different barbells you can imagine, trap bars, Swiss bars, fat bars, you name it. I tell you what, these storage racks for us, you can buy them at any like Home Depot or Lowe's, have been like a game changer as far as getting things off of the ground.
The Gladiator, you got that at Home Depot?
Yeah, I think it was either Lowe's or Home Depot.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but these are great because again, we set them up. You can set what height you want, but it's just so much easier for like, putting things off of the ground.
Love it.
And then again, this is actually my buddy. My buddy's a fabricator. He built this rack for us. Okay. And again, storage is a biggie. And that's the most important thing. One of the things that we wanted to do early on was like med ball throws and rotational work. So we actually, part of the build out in the lease was building our med ball wall.
Oh wow, so you had them build this out?
Yeah, that was a biggie for us. We work with a decent amount of, athletes with rotational sports, so we've got baseball players, golfers, fighters, etc. So this was part of like, okay, we got to have this. And it was a biggie for us because we don't have those exposed walls like a lot of the facilities do. So we had to build one.
Nice. We were at Pure Performance in Needham.
Yep.
Similar look.
Yep.
But they had to go through the whole. Yep. They should have got it in the build out.
Yeah.
Remember that, Adam and BJ?
Yeah. I used to work with those guys.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I trained Boston back in the day, man. I worked with almost all those trainers I worked with.
Nice.
So, good guys. And then, so behind you, we've just got a boatload of kettlebells because, well...
You are Mike Perry.
we tend to train with kettlebells. So, and honestly, we use them all the time. They're just, for us, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
We can use them for deadlifts. We use them for farmers carries. Obviously the basic kettlebell stuff as well. But they're just so versatile and they never break.
Yeah.
And it's just, they're really nice to have tons of. And we do actually hold some certifications with Strong First here and there. So it's nice to have the extra so they don't have to bring them in on a pallet and that can be a little bit of a pain.
All right, very cool. Let's go sit down and we'll talk some business.
Awesome. So this is our consult room, or where we do most of our evaluations. So people come in, if they want to learn about the gym, this is where we do our consultations. This is also where we get people on the table and do some other assessments, etc. So we'll bring in, we'll have a little chat.
Cool, we'll check it out. Okay, cool. So you have the table here and you do all your FMS and whatever. And you got the little TV in there too.
Yeah, that is actually we do a little bit of a PowerPoint-based sort of sales consultation where we give people a little bit more of a visual aid when they're asking about the gym and they want to see prices. We found that, while a sit down is a little bit more just personal, but having that visual aid is a biggie. So we just, we set up the computer and we do everything on PowerPoint.
Nice, love it. That's a great idea. Let's talk a little bit more about this location in terms of have you had any challenges? I mean, it's almost like I can describe it like it's almost like a mall, but it's not a mall. But the beautiful thing is all the parking, easy to get to.
Yeah.
Lots of people here. Has there been any challenges with the facility?
So one of the biggest challenges that we found is it's an old mill and it does echo. There's a lot of noise and a lot of that noise travels upward. So to be honest, here and there we have had some issues with some of the other tenants above
complaining,
saying, hey, it's a little bit noisy. But here's the way I see it. It's a dentist upstairs. when people go to the dentist, they're not happy anyways, right?
Yeah.
So they're not happy. So I have a feeling people are, just a little bit miserable going into that scenario. But that was, I would say one of the biggies. As far as, the challenges go, it was just, at first we had to really pick and choose when we could be loud and play a little bit louder music, and when we could motivate people, because if we're in here trying to get a group of kids fired up, we have to be very, very careful. We learned it the hard way. We got a couple calls and they were like, hey, just tone it down a little bit. So that was honestly one of those things that is like, oh man, that's a giant pain, but we make it work. We know sort of the hours of operation for other people. So at night, we can crank it up a little bit and get people fired up and blast the music a little bit more. Same thing on the weekends. This place is pretty quiet on the weekends. So on Saturdays, we can definitely crank it up a little bit and have some more fun and motivate people.
You guys ever go outside? You ever use the parking lot? I mean, you got like a lot of space out there.
It is giant. It's just too busy out there. I mean, there's so many businesses with this building. I would just be concerned that someone would get hurt. We do actually have when it's nice out. One of the options is like some of our conditioning is to go for like run around the building. Okay, cool. So we do that, but that would be probably the only thing. And usually our group classes are early morning, 5 or 6 a.m. Or at night. So it's not too bad as far as traffic goes, but it's really tough to kind of get in and out, especially with equipment too. Cool.
What about other just business challenges opening up? What were some things early on that you kind of, maybe were not surprised about, but, you thought, oh boy.
Well, just all the logistics, all the insurances, all of those other sort of things you don't really know about. Because when we dove into this, we didn't really know a ton about running a gym. We were hard workers. My wife and I were smart enough to figure it out as we went. But honestly, one of the biggest expenses was flooring. Was like turf and rubber mats. It's like, holy cow. And then shipping.
People forget,
because it's like for example, you order kettlebells, right? People, like UPS, they basically charge you by the weight, and you're ordering weights. It's shipping is a huge part of it, man, and it definitely adds up. But flooring and like turf and flooring was a biggie for us. That was like, wow. It was one of those scenarios where I'm like, man, that's just was thousands and thousands of dollars that I didn't realize. And part of it, we wanted to do it right. We didn't want to have like one brand here, one brand here. We wanted to make it look nice, and that was important for us to sort of obviously have everything flow. So we tried to do it the right way. It was a little bit more at the beginning, but it's just how it is. And then everything adds up. You kind of know the big costs, but the little things like, just that you're always replacing, like foam rollers and bands and stuff like that. Those are those reoccurring costs that every 6 months you have to kind of, call up the guys that perform better and say, hey, I need this, 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 and this. And those are those things that just keep on coming along. And then cleaning supplies and paper towels and stuff like that, you don't realize that, okay, I need mops, I need, the different types of cleaners, I need the defibrillator, which is $1,000, all of these things
that nobody tells you about. I did a whole episode for Strength Coach TV on costs nobody tells you about, like plants and those things we were talking about, the racks from Home Depot or Lowe's, or making the poster for your people. I mean, these are all the couches in here and that rack. These are all things no gym owner is really talking about originally. It's like, how much are the kettlebells going to cost? What's the rack going to cost? Then you get the shipping bill and you're like, whoa. Wait a minute.
And even just like if you're going to paint and you're going to do all those things yourself, like we've done a lot of it ourselves, because that's just, I was kind of brought up like, if you can do it, right? And I mean, man, like we just repainted the place, and by the time we repainted everything and all the supplies, it was like $800 of paint and brushes and all the stuff you need. So it definitely adds up. Now, if I were to hire someone to do that, it would have probably cost $5,000, right? It would have been nuts. But yeah, those are the little things that you don't think of. And then obviously you've got your, your other basics like, cable, internet. You've got, heating and air conditioning. I mean, it adds up. It adds up a ton.
Let's finish up with kind of not a mistake you made, but something you might have done differently going into the whole process.
people always say to be nice, right? You want to be nice to people and take care of people. But we were, at the beginning, we were being nice and people would ask for deals and we'd be like, okay, you can do that.
Yeah.
And it was, oh man, I'll tell you what, like the gray area when it comes to that is awful. And if there's any advice I could give to someone is when it comes to setting your pricing and your programmings, just it's got to be black and white.
Yeah.
Because you don't want everybody having separate things, because then it's a giant pain to take care of. But
Sure it is.
the second we were very firm on what we did and all of our policies, it made our lives that much easier. At first, you kind of feel mean because you just want to be nice to everybody. But once we started being firm on everything, no, this is the price. This is what it costs.
You're also doing them a service because the Cosgrove's always talked about nobody will ever come in and pay less than the current members. So you don't want all these different prices. And also, if I'm referring you, I might say, hey man, Mike will give you a deal. You don't have to pay the $300 a month he's charging everybody else. And then people talk, and then you're gonna piss somebody off.
Yeah.
And so like also with the results I learned with them was having two things, or the least amount of choices you have, the better.
It's that's pretty much what we do. We have a short-term option and a long-term option, and that's pretty much it for all of our programs as far as what we offer. Because if you give people too many choices, they won't pick any.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you go to a restaurant and there's 1,000 things on the menu, you're like, I don't know what I want. Everything looks good.
Yeah.
You don't make a decision. But if it's like, if it's good, if it's burgers and fries, and they make really good burgers and fries, right?
Yeah.
You're getting the burgers and fries. So
You are.
that was a big thing for us. Is just you gotta just stick to your guns with that thing.
True.
And it's the same thing with like cancellation policies and stuff like that. Because man, everyone's got a story, right? Everyone's got my kid was sick, or this did something, and you have to be firm with people, and you have to remind them, listen, like this is my business. This is how I pay my bills. This is how I raise my family. Like, I'm not trying to be a jerk here. This is not like a multi-million-dollar empire. This is something that we built out of our basement. Yeah. And hopefully you can understand that. But, there's been a few times where we've had to, work with lawyers to get things done. Wow. But that's just part of it. But I will tell you this, man, kind of on that note, finding a lawyer that can help you with like collections and stuff like that. Just a letter. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just having them draft up a letter and say, can you send this out? It's definitely... it's been worth it, because there's been some people that tried to pull some fast ones on us, and even though we had literally like 3 contracts signed saying this, the terms of everything, but people will do that, man. They'll just do that. So you have to. They think they're going to get away with it. They kind of bully you, and then all of a sudden you send them out a letter, and all of a sudden that check comes in the mail. So we found you have to just eliminate gray area. It's been so huge for us. We're not trying to be jerks. We're just trying to say, hey, listen, you signed these terms of our agreement like 8 times,
and you don't have all this fine print. You're not doing these stupid things. Just come honor your contract for the 6 months or the year or whatever it is. And
we walk them through, and I read through the contract, and I explain to them exactly what they're doing, and then we'll send them a copy of the contract so they know. I mean, it's one of those things, like it's everywhere, and people will still be like, oh, but, and you're like, oh man.
Welcome to business. Mike, thanks so much for sharing your beautiful facility, and your knowledge and your experience, because people out there who open up facilities, they need this kind of stuff. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Awesome. Thanks so much.